Hey everyone, Gill Gross here post-match. Novak Djokovic versus Hubert Hurkacz, ATP Finals 2023 round robin. If you're not here for spoilers, click off the video in 3, 2, 1. Djokovic wins in 3 sets, finishing this round robin stage at 2-1. But still, as we discussed before the event started, a lot of players can have the same record, and it's gotten especially wacky with Tsitsipas's withdrawal. Djokovic is not guaranteed a spot in the semifinal. He did not do quite enough, which is kind of where I want to start because Novak was in such a difficult position here, needing to win in straight sets against Hurkacz in order to ensure a spot in the semifinals. Look, it's just really, really hard to beat Hubie in straight sets. That's played out over the large sample size of this 2023 season, where well over half of Hurkacz's matches have gone to deciding sets. And since Roland Garros, when the tour obviously went to the grass and the hard, where Hurkacz excels, only one guy has beaten him in straight sets in best of 3, and that is Felix in the Basel final. In fact, both of Hurkacz's straight set defeats since Roland Garros, if you add Jack Draper at the U.S. Open, there have been some pretty serious physical issues in both examples. So it's just, you don't really beat Hurkacz in straights. It's really hard to do. And now you have the added circumstances here where he's coming in for his first match, his first and only match as an alternate at these ATP Finals. He's the best server on tour. These are the best serving conditions on tour. There's no pressure. He has $400,000 and 200 rankings points worth of motivation. And he just kind of goes out there and he's able to play spoiler a little bit for Novak Djokovic, who, again, I just think it was a really tough spot for him. Still wins the match. So let's get into it. First set goes to a tiebreak. Hurkacz made every single first serve in the tiebreak and still lost 7-1. That right there is a pretty impressive statement. And I think just watching it and how it played out, the returning from Novak was just as good as it sounds. Djokovic seemed to read each of the first 3 serves of this tiebreak for Hurkacz. Just seemed to read it to his forehand side. So he got a beat on it, and he put good returns in play. The last one at the set point, this was less consequential because it was already 6-1. That one actually crossed him up. It seemed like he thought it was coming to his backhand. He was still able to react in time and put a really great kind of stab forehand return back in play. Once Novak did make those returns, Hurkacz made it pretty simple with missed forehands. And I know that kind of led people to look at the tiebreak on Twitter and get kind of down on Hurkacz, but I think to categorize this as a throwaway tiebreak on the part of Hubert Hurkacz really discredits what happened before the missed forehand, which was returns that most players simply aren't making. Certainly not with the depth and the quality, the ball speed, especially if you look at the first point of the tiebreak, that Novak Djokovic was able to achieve on those forehand returns. So yeah, I think both things are true. Novak made exceptional returns. Hurkacz missed some forehands. And that's how it got away. But also Djokovic played really well behind his serve because on return points, Hurkacz made 0 unforced errors. Djokovic hit no aces, no service winners, so he got nothing cheap or easy, and he still executed in those points with a great backhand pass on the run at 1-love that set up an easy forehand winner on the next ball. A very low +1 backhand at 2-love that Novak ripped impressively cross-court into the open court for the forced error, but I was impressed by just how much he was able to get on that ball from such a low contact point. And And I'll leave it at that, because at that point it was 3-love. It would end up being 5-love, and after Novak won the next 2 Hurkacz service points. And yeah, it was a runaway first set tiebreak. But in the second set, you had that blip, that one game, which is what kind of made Djokovic's task in this match so difficult, is because against Hurkacz in these conditions, the server that he is, it was going to require perfection for 2 sets, where Novak just wouldn't have a single service game that would go awry on him. And second set, 2-all, he had that service game. And that's what's going to cost him potentially if Rune beats Sinner. And by the way, I'm going to talk about it at the end of the video, what I think might happen in that semifinal. At 2-all, this game starts with a bit of a shocker forehand volley miss from Djokovic. Set up the point really well. Nice inside-out forehand approach. And just put the forehand volley in the net. Looking just a tad casual. It looked mentally like there was maybe he took the forehand volley for granted just a little bit there. Next ball, second serve. And Hurkacz plays a great point. Forehand cross court really, really deep. So Novak's next ball was a little bit on the weaker side because of Hurkacz's depth. And then Hubie stepped in and made that aggressive attack change of direction with his forehand down the line to create the overhead, which he put away. Really good point by Hurkacz. At love 30, Hurkacz laced a backhand return inside in. The only note I wrote here is why backhand. I think on such a big point, probably shouldn't go to Hurkacz's stronger return. But at the same time, for Novak to make a first serve here and for Hurkacz to rope the return with such interest is also, again, a credit to Hubie. Double fault here at love 40. So he was not able to claw his way back and unfortunately didn't make Hurkacz earn that final point in converting the break point. So that was the second set, right? That was the one break of serve that was going to cost Djokovic. And then in the third set, it was the first one-sided set as Hurkacz's first serve really fell off. He only made 45% of his first serves in the third set. That's going to be a death sentence against Novak Djokovic. And I think, the overall trend in the match was what it usually is when Djokovic plays a big server, which is that in terms of first serve efficiency and first serve dominance, these two can kind of play on equal footing. Hurkacz with the big weapon that his first serve is. Djokovic with how clinical his spot serving is, his +1, his ability to take control of the point and keep control of the point behind his first serve against a guy, especially in Hurkacz, who doesn't defend all that well. But it's really the second serve dynamic where there's a huge gulf. There's a gap, and Djokovic just kind of runs away with the second serve battle. Certainly statistically, that is ever clear. Djokovic won 73% of his second serve points in this match. Hurkacz won 32% of his second serve points. So there's a couple dynamics or factors here. We can start with the Djokovic return. Hurkacz was directing, let me get you the numbers here because I'm looking at the numbers. Hurkacz was directing most of his second serves to Djokovic's backhand. If you look at the numbers, it was actually 56% to the body, 44% tee, 0% out wide on the deuce court. So Djokovic did not have to account for the wide second serve on the deuce court whatsoever. And then on the ad side, there was more. It was 25 to the forehand, 44% body, 31% to the backhand. But average second serve speed from Hurkacz, 107 miles per hour, and it's a kick serve. So that's the upper echelon of second serve quality, right? That's really good stuff from Hurkacz. But given the fact that he's not hitting targets and he's kind of putting it into the middle of the box because it's a second serve, Djokovic particularly with his backhand return, but obviously off of both, he's usually achieving a return good enough to rush Hurkacz or achieve enough depth that he's breaking the contact point of Hubie, and that +1 ball or that third shot is a weaker ball Djokovic can attack on the fourth shot. Generally, Novak is hitting returns that are doing one of those two things, or both. Sometimes it's deep and it's rushing. And then in the rally, with Djokovic being dialed in off the ground, you better bring elite movement or elite ball striking. Hurkacz is probably the only guy in the Turin field who's not able to bring either of those things to the table. And Novak did a wonderful job moving the ball around, good consistency off the ground, very, very aggressive in his ball placement. And I think he kind of has it in his head that if he's just able to make Hurkacz move a lot and cover a lot of court, Hubie's not really going to be able to keep up the intensity in his movement in order to hang in the rallies. So yeah, 5+ shot rallies were 30-18 in this match for Djokovic, which is not a competitive number for Hurkacz. Good backhand variety as well by Novak in the rallies. So that's how you get to a number like 32% second serves won by Hurkacz, even though he's hitting 107 mile-per-hour kick serves on average. Djokovic had a good second serve strategy. He avoided the backhand return of Hurkacz. Everything was going either forehand or body. So good strategy there, good tactic by Djokovic, very aware of the scouting report. So that is all I got in terms of the specifics of this match and how it played out. Just concluding thoughts on Hurkacz. I remain pretty encouraged. I have been pretty encouraged on Hurkacz's game really since Wimbledon, and I'm still there. Despite the blip in the first set tiebreak on Hurkacz's forehand, I still think he's hitting that ball with better speeds, better racket head acceleration, and he's a much better player for it. And I think he'll go into the offseason feeling really good as he remains an elite server, obviously. Djokovic played a good match here. I really believe that. Unfortunately, the bar was exceptionally high. He just needed to play 2 sets without having one lackadaisical service game. He just couldn't manage to get that done. But at the end of the day, he never came close to losing the match. Hurkacz played pretty well. It's hard to I think it's hard to put it in a box, right? He did have one bad serving set in the third, but he kind of did his thing, and he's so difficult in these conditions. So I thought Djokovic performed well, and now we'll see if it was enough for him to be in the semifinal. Little bit of game theory going on in this second rubber on the day. Sinner plays Rune. If Rune wins, he's in the semifinal with Sinner. If Sinner wins, then it's going to be Sinner Djokovic in the semifinal. Obviously, that leads to some people bringing up the obvious fact that if Jannik wants to get Novak out of the competition, he can. He could do that by losing. It's also just in general a dead rubber. So you have two kind of competing thoughts. One is that Jannik is going to go out there most certainly and honor the event, honor the crowd, honor the sport, honor himself, and give it 100%. Compete as hard as he can, especially with the Italy factor, right? The other thought is, the competing thought with that is, this is a dead rubber, and in terms of him winning the title, it would probably help if he loses this match and eliminates the favorite to win the title, who even when Sinner played the match of his life against a couple days ago, it was still deep into a third set. So where do I fall? I kind of go to Jannik's personality. right? Because I have seen players in this round robin format, in this dead rubber. I've seen players take their foot off the gas in the dead rubber. Just last year we saw it. When Casper Ruud played Nadal and Ruud was already 2-0, and we know that Ruud, has a certain reverence for Rafa as well. Like Casper played that match with no venom. He played it at 80% speed. We saw that. So it has happened before. I tend to think that Jannik, just knowing his competitive spirit, his nature, I actually think he's going to come out, especially just knowing what it will mean to the crowd and to Italy. I think he's actually going to play at a high level. I think he's going to perform well. I think he's going to compete hard, and just basically come in with the mindset like, when I'm playing a young rival in Holger Rune in the ATP Finals with the prize money and the rankings points and the chance to go 3-0, like all of these things, I think he's going to find a way to keep the fire in his belly and want it. So I still think he's going to win the match. We'll see what happens. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.